Hello class, in this example, in this demonstration, we're going to be using this file that I'm going to supply to you. This is image 01 times squared blend modes demo.psd file. This file, along with other files, have been made available to you as a zip file. So these are available within our class site. You can just download all these images, and I'm going to be referencing to the different images that is found within that zip file. Once you download that zip file, chances are on a Mac it's going to automatically unzip. A zip file is basically a container that carries different files that are easily transported over the internet. Kind of think of like a moving box. You put stuff in that moving box, you take it to your new location, and once you're there, you unpack it. So on a PC, you could also unzip this file. Oftentimes, you need to right mouse click on it and then tell it to unzip or unpack. So we're using this file, which is 01 times square blend modes demo. And what I've already done for you, you're going to see two different layers. You have your background image, which is an image of Times Square. Then on layer 1, you have these different swatches. We have black, we have white, red, green, blue, yellow, cyan, and magenta. And these are only for demonstration. What I want you to do is go ahead and select layer 1, and we are going to experiment to see what the different blend modes do. So I want to remind you that for each layer, you are able to change the opacity. Right now we have 100% opacity. Opacity is opaque, meaning that you can't see through it. Once we start to lower this opacity, you're either able to click a value. If you click on this little arrow next to it, you're able to drop this opacity with a lever. You have to just click and drag. But what I like to do, if you just move your cursor over the word opacity, and if you click and hold down your mouse button, you could slide either to the left. Once you stop, it updates, or from either to the left or to the right. So right here, if I go to 50%, this means it's 50% opaque, or some people also understand the opposite. It's 50% transparent. So I'm just going to leave this at 100% for right now, because I want to focus to the left of this. This is where the blend modes are. Now, the blend modes, again, are a way of how you're able to change how this layer that is selected, how the pixels are going to interact with the layers underneath it. Underneath is only one layer, but if you have multiple layers, it could be changed against all the layers underneath it. So right now we have the normal layer, and I'm just going to leave this window open, because now what you could do, if you just scroll over these, you could see which each layer, which each blend mode does. Some of them you can't really see the difference, especially with our scientific approach here. But as we go down, you can see that with darken within this layer, this group of options deal with which pixels are darker. Notice that, for example, under darken, if we look, I'm going to go ahead and select it. Up here in the top left-hand corner, our black swatch that we created, it's completely still black. Whereas if we look at something like this red one, you can see that any instance of black is still there, but anything that is lighter than black, or between the two different colors, it's going to show up. Right here, there is some writing, some letters. I think it's A-L-D-O. I think it spells Aldo. Familiar name. But you can see how it used to be white. I'm going to hide this, and you can see that it's actually red. It's the background that is showing up, as now what was white is now red. And you can see how each one is doing. What I want you to do is really go through these. Maybe you could pause and go through each one to see what happens. But I'm going to continue. As we continue to see the different options, and now remember, this is more of a scientific method. So we might not necessarily see a big change. Now if we go to the next group, these are lightened, or whatever value has the lighter color value. Now, for example, if we look down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our white swatch, and notice that this is now visible, whereas the black one, because that is the darkest color, it completely disappears. Now you could continue to see what each one of these blend modes does. Now if we go to overlay, this kind of works the in-betweens values. I'm going to have a link that's going to be made available within our class site that goes over a specific description for each blend modes if you're interested. So you can look at these to see. Now we have difference, which kind of creates almost like a negative, if you will. And then at the bottom, you're able to change the hue. So instead of color, we're able to color shift. We could change the saturation, color, and luminosity. But here, let's have some fun. I'm going to hide this layer. Let's go ahead and create a new layer. On the bottom right-hand corner of my layers panel, I'm going to go ahead and create a new empty layer. So we have layer 2 right here. I'm going to select it. I want to use a paintbrush. I'm going to press B, or I'm going to select my icon right here. I'm going to change my brush to have something that's going to be a soft round. If you want your view to look like mine, within the layers panel, within the options, you click on this little icon right here on the top right hand corner. There's that little gear. I have the brush name, stroke, and tip displayed. And I'm just selecting the soft round. This is under the general brushes. I am not using a graphics tablet, so if you have one, you could always use one as well. I'm going to make my brush a little bit larger, and I want to change the color for right now. You could change it different ways. I could either go over here in the bottom left hand corner. I'm going to click on the foreground color, and I always like to start off with blue. Blue is my favorite color, so I'm going to go ahead and select a blue. I'll choose this one right here. I'm going to tell it OK, and I'm just going to go ahead and start painting. Now notice that we do have blend mode set to normal. When I do this, it's just painting pixels normally. But I'm going to go ahead and change my blend mode from normal. I believe I liked either overlay or soft light. I'm going to go ahead and select soft light, and my opacity right now is at 100%. I could always change this. Now you can see that by doing this, I'm starting to change the color within here. It's really warm right here. What if I want to make these a little bit more cooler in color temperature? I could do something like this. Now if you look closely at my layer, I'm going to hide my background. This is what I have so far. I'm going to go ahead and choose a different color. This time I'm going to use a color picker that's up here on the top right hand corner of my screen. This is a panel. If you do not have this panel available, if you go to Window and I have my color displayed, I could click and drag this little circle. Like say for example I want a magenta color. I could click and drag this right here, and great, now I have magenta, and I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of spots of magenta here and there. I could draw. This is what it looks like if my blend mode was set to normal, but it's not. It's set to soft light, and you can see how I'm able to change the color. So this is one method that you're able to play with the color, play with your image to change the colors, but not necessarily paint them so that it looks just like, I'm going to change this back to normal, just like this. This kind of looks like not necessarily very pleasing to my eyes, but if I change this from normal using my blend modes, you can get some really cool effects. Ooh, maybe I like this one. Look at this color dodge. This is really cool. I'm going to go to soft light still. I'm going to go ahead and continue to change my colors. I'm going to go to yellow, and you can see how maybe I want the yellow right here to really stand out in the Sabaros. The yellow for this umbrella, the light right here. Let me go ahead and maybe add some black. What does black do? I'm going to darken these areas where I don't want to, I want to minimize those areas that I want to, you see, I'm just making those a little bit darker. What if I darken this billboard here? Now if I go back to my image, you can see that it just looks like this. So I want you to go ahead and have some fun with this, experiment, explore, see what you're able to do with these. This is using soft light. If I change this to hue, saturation, so on and so forth. So this is one method of being able to work with blend modes. You're able to create some really unique and really cool effects using blend modes. So have fun, experiment with it, and then I'll see you within the next video.